Hey, what's going on everyone? Hux21 here, back with another Splinterlands video. So this isn't one of my top 3 battle videos. This is a specific gameplay video showing off mainly Lily, but it's a combination of Lily and Almo Cambio. Now, before you get your keyboards ready and you start typing, oh, it's great you have an Almo Cambio. Not everyone can afford Almo Cambio and do these strategies that you're going to show. I totally recognize that. And at the end, once I go through these 3 battles, we're going to hop over to SplinterGuide and I'm going to show you some alternatives that you can use to pair with Lily. For me, I'm battling hard to try to get into champion, so I do this strategy with Almo because it's the best possible card to play in this situation. But there are some alternatives where you can recreate some of the same magic. And I'll show you some of those cards at the end, but you gotta watch the battles first. Okay, so let's quickly go here, actually, and we're gonna go here, Summoner, do a little refresh. So Lily, coming in at $13 for a BCX, so held up a little bit. Second most expensive Chaos Legion Summoner. So it's not like people don't recognize that Lily's great. Something to consider, though, she's Dragon, so you're going to get a premium on that Summoner, a Dragon Summoner. And it's going to be one of the more scarce ones because it was released last. So a couple things working in its favor for having a higher price as is. Just good to consider as you potentially look to make a move. Wow. Yasik under... potential for a little flip. I'm in the middle of trying to do some flips to build up my DEC. Don't have enough. What would this be worth it? $1? No. Wouldn't be able to make that. But interesting. But yeah, Lily, 13 bucks if you want to try it out. You can obviously rent it for pretty cheap. Here's the idea. Most of these battles, I think 2 out of the 3 that I show you, are going to be pretty low mana, right? This is 21 mana. This is not a lot of mana. So Lily with 6, Almo with 7, that's 13 out of the 21. I'm only left with 8. What the idea is my opponent has to fire at the Almo. They're not going to be able to get a big scattershot play or anything like that out with 21 mana. I mean, I guess you could, but you're not going to be left with a lot. You'd have to really sell out on that play. And that's just not a play that you get with 21 mana. You'll get sneaks, and you'll get some of these cards that you see right here that are really good in low mana. So my bet is Water has 2 low mana healers. We have the 1 mana Albatross, which I think is a must-have. We come to Splinter Guides here. Let's quickly check out the Albatross. I think this should be a bit higher. But we did move it up recently, so it's got to settle a little bit. Well, 1 mana for a healer. That's incredible. You're not getting that much value for 1 mana. And what that allows me to do is play this for such a big portion of the 21, and with the rest of the 4 mana, I get 2 heals out. And with the Almo, that's going to be 10 heals per turn. So what's the math here? They got to do, with 21 mana cap, over 10 damage per turn to make headway. Okay? The other part is, they have to do it before the return fire, before the magic reflect wipes out that damage. That includes an amplify that I brought from the Venator. The other thing at play, Almo's very fast with the phase, so you're going to probably get some misses in there. Plus it has immunity, so you can't stop me from healing. That's what makes this such a great combination. You have the camouflage and all of these amazing things from Almo. It's fast, high health, magic reflect, return fire, immunity. There's not much you can do in these low mana matches to get through the Almo if you have to attack the Almo, which because of the Lily, you do. So one thing you probably noticed is I'm not doing a lot of damage, right? I kind of had 2 mana left, and this is a good card to toss out there. 3 damage for 2 mana with the stun. I was expecting maybe a Bakjira, which is why I brought the stun. But yeah, so they brought in a press, so they're able to do 6 damage here, 3. This always hits, and I have nothing for melee, right? So that's 11, 2, 13, 15. So they're doing enough damage, but they have to hit enough. And that'll be the math here. Let's see how this plays out. Again, we're slowing them down too. Like, my job here is to eliminate enough of their damage dealers and then try to win in fatigue. So we got a miss already on the big oppress hit. It's like, I don't really care about the Igor hitting the Conjurer. I mean, it would be nice. Got another miss. Again, my opponent would have to get really, really lucky to win this match. And here you can see it gets a little, but not really super threatening. And now the Magic Reflect and Archery sort of does its thing. So without the Lily, right now the Celestial Harpy of my opponent would be attacking different places on my back line. But it has to attack my high health card in the front. We got enough misses, eventually. Now they can do 8 damage, so now they can't even do enough damage. So we can't do any damage to them. Oh, I guess we can. We're eventually going to get through the Bellicor Conjurer up front. But we're not doing a lot of damage. But they just can't get through, even if they hit all their shots at this point. And again, normally the Celestial Harpy would be picking off my backline monsters one by one. But because of Lily's camouflage, it has to go at the Almo. So as you can probably see from here, we're going to take this tub slowly as the Igor makes its way through. But even if I didn't put the Igor here, I would win in fatigue. All right, skip to results. There you see, grabbed the win. Battle number 2, you'll see a very, very similar story. A little bit more mana, so you saw a slightly different play. And one card that I like to bring in these situations is the Murdampier. Why? This is the mana size that you typically start to see a Bakjira. A Bakjira plus some sort of cleanse in 20-something mana can be really, really, really difficult to deal with. So I like to bring a Murdampier for a couple reasons. Normally the Cripple, right, which I don't think I remembered or realized that everyone had Cripple in this one. So Bakjira wouldn't have been that great of a play. But also, if you get in a situation where you're dealing with fatigue and you can't really get through the Bakjira, one, the Cripple will do the trick, but also you can build up a ton of health with the Murdampier, where it can give you a chance in fatigue. But here you can see a similar strategy, right? My bet is you're not going to have enough damage to get through my Elmo. We have the added bonus here of Protect. So the Repair is going to work for the Elmo as well. And again, we're not trying to do a ton of damage. We brought here just in case there was any, free mana for this package is awesome. And with the Reflection Shield, we don't have to worry about Blast. And look what this does to my opponents. They're trying to do a very, very typical play, in this context right here. Bakjira up front, you struggle to get through the Bakjira. They do a sneak plus opportunity play. These 3 monsters are played so often together in this type of strategy. But instead of going after my main damage dealers in the back, Lily forces them into the Elmo. And same situation applies. We have poisons here, doesn't matter with the immunity. Now, obviously, we're not going to send any damage back because they're all melee. But we're able to sustain ourselves with the 2 heals and the repair and slowly chip away at them to get the dub. I've talked a lot on this channel. I say it all the time. It should be like one of my taglines. If you can dictate, or if you can predict, or if you can force your opponent to attack in a certain area, and you know that area, it greatly increases your chances of winning. This is a great example. My opponent wanted to set up a sneak opportunity play. Lily said, no, no, no. I'm going to force you to attack where we want you to attack. And that made all the difference. Again, the repair here is really nice because the Pellicore Bandit every single turn is going to have its attack effectively cut in half because the 4 is going to go after 2 shields. Right? So he's never actually going to get a full 4 off. Or normally they'd be doing enough damage, assuming they didn't miss, like right there. They'd be doing 12, so they could have whittled away on my Alamo. You know, again, they don't have huge miss chances, but we saw one big miss, and that could have made all the difference as is. Slowly getting through the Bakjira, and once we get through the Bakjira, you'll see we move pretty quickly through the rest. You know, you see a lot of similar cards here, the Mordampier, plus the Albatross, plus the Igor, right? Part of it is you're doing this in lowish mana because your opponent won't have the damage to get through the Alamo. But part of that is you need good low mana cards to play. You need to have some of these low mana cards. The third battle is going to be a little bit different than this one. But the 2 stars will be the same. We'll have the Alamo and the Lily. And then after that third battle, I will show you some potential alternatives. I mean, you can probably start to guess at this point, you know, what makes the Alamo so great can sort of play into what would make alternative options great. So here we go. We do miss, but the snare from the Mordampier here is super helpful, plus the True Strike. And boom. So we'll pick up another one. Again, Alamo standing tall. I don't take any damage. Another win. So this one's a little different. Up to 45, but you can see some of the similar concepts here. So part of the reason why I did this, there's 2 reasons really. Lily's great in Blast. And that's because you can dictate where your opponent fires and then put a reflection shield monster in the right spot so Blast isn't a factor. And so that's what I did here. The added bonus is obviously the immunity. Don't need to worry about poison. And you'll see a couple things at play here. The big one is going to be the amount of damage my opponent does to themselves. So you have here, 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 doing big damage. Think about this card too, right? This is normally a snipe monster. So if I didn't bring Lily with the camouflage, this would be sniping right here and blast. Tons of damage. Let's get into it. You know, when they're actually boosting their archery, so they're doing even more. Again, 0. Look at that, all that return fire. See, I'm even missing a little bit. I brought 2 scattershot monsters in the back, as you can see, just to try to fling a bunch of blast damage around. Could do the gladiator, so again, opportunity, try to fling some blast damage around, hopefully get a bloodlust. And then sandworm is almost a must play here, because you get flyers in the back with the snare, and just does so much damage. And you know, I didn't really play a lot of high health monsters with the poison, as you can see. I really sold out on doing huge amounts of damage. But I will say, another thing of Lily we haven't even touched on, because we haven't had to, is the triage. So this is an option where, you know, a lot of times in my previous ones, the camouflage makes it so the triage is a little bit useless, because none of my backline monsters were taking any damage. But a poison rule set is a great example of the time that that's not the case. So they'll get through the Alamo here, but what do you know? We get a quick resurrect. We're able to do some even more damage to the back. And now, basically, all of their damage is gone. And we're going to get the Sandworm here, I believe. So they will get through the Alamo, but then look at the Sandworm does. Sorry. Now, nope. Sandworm's just never going to get to go. At this point, we had done too much damage to them that even though they did get through the Alamo finally, you know, we're not in the same situation. They have no damage left. This was all because of Lily. If you can dictate where your opponent is going to shoot, you are going to be very well suited to take advantage of that. That's why I think Lily, at this point, so I had Yasek honestly as my favorite Chaos Legion legendary summoner, but I think Lily's past it. Lily is fantastic if you have the cards to play with it. All right. So obviously if we come here, you're gonna say the Alamo is 10 out of 10 at the highest level league, right? This is an absurd card. It's very expensive. It's like $30 per BCX. So what are some other options? Well, let's just start with phase, right? You're gonna want to be able to dodge magic up there. I mean, you could even do the Chaos Agent in really low mana, right? It's a little harder to keep the Chaos Agent alive, but you could do a combination. Like something I've done before is put Chaos Agent ahead of Pelacor Conjurer, put Chaos Agent ahead of Void Dragon, right? Both of these on their own are good options, right? Pelacor Conjurer for 2 mana, good speed, 8 health. You have the phase, magic reflect, flying. Can be a really, really difficult monster to hit. Toss this in front, that's 3 mana, and your opponent's gonna have to go through both of these. Same with the Void Dragon. Void Dragon can do a little bit of magic damage, right? Toss Chaos Agent in front, or do it with just a Void Dragon. We're talking 5 speed, flying, phase, void. Really elusive monster. The one I do it with the most besides Alamo, sorry, second most, we'll get to the most in a second, is Nightmare. 7 speed, that's the kicker. 7 speed with phase. If you bring some blinds, if you bring some speed manipulations, this can be a impossible monster to hit, and you are going to force your opponent to try to hit it. Nightmare is a fantastic combination with Lily. Jinoshana, same thing. 5 speed, phase, void. Really great if you're expecting magic or the magic only rule sets. You don't want to deal with snipe, you don't want to deal with, you know, whatever it is. You can make them go through the Jin. Force field too, right? You could have a situation where you're expecting huge damage amounts from the back. Well, make them attack a monster with force field. Another good option, I mean, this shouldn't surprise you. Bakjira, obviously. 16 health with the heal. Technically 17 health because you're going to get a strengthen out of it. And the void. Bring a cleanse, right? That strategy I talked about. If I bring the Murdali Guardian, that's 3. The Albatross, that's 1. That's 2 more heals on 17 health. And then I bring the Kelp Initiate. That's a 2 mana cleanse monster. That's 12 mana, 18 mana right there for the whole set, including Lily. Look at that. What if let's look at some dodge monsters. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of. Let me sort by speed here. Serpentine Soldier is a great one. 6 speed with dodge and shield. If you have a no magic rule set, toss him out there. Crazy. The archery and the melee damage is going to get reduced, so they're going to have to go through the Serpentine Soldier. And if you actually hit it with the 6 speed plus the dodge, you're going to take Thorns damage. Cockatrice is another one. We have the flying and the dodge. Vampire Bat, flying, dodge. If you're in a situation of no magic, fantastic card to put out there. Now, obviously, Snare can come into play here, and then you can be a little bit of trouble. You don't have to worry about with the Serpentine Soldier. Serpent of Eld, another option. 5 speed with dodge. Anything else in particular? let's just look at some really high health monsters. You know, a lot of these have taunt, which again, you don't need to because taunt effectively, you know, Lily almost gives you a taunt. There's some, it's not exactly perfect, but you could do the Peaceful Giant, I guess, to make it go through 17 health. At the highest levels, it's not that complicated. You could do it with Grum. The problem is there's not a lot of heals and stuff. That'll be a good last thing to look at, actually, because you can't really do this strategy without healers. Let's do tank heal, and let's sort by smallest mana. Albatross is great. Chimer Princess is great. Divine Healer, great. Truth Speaker in particular, because you're getting the cleanse and the tank heal. So this one's a great option. Merdali Guardian I showed you. Crustacean King. These two together, right? In the first battle, the Merdali Guardian's repair kind of went to waste because there was no shield. Well, what if I brought the Crustacean King too, which brings the shield? So it's going to be an additional heal, it's going to give it some shield, and it will allow the Merdali Guardian to protect it. Crystal Smith, Wood Nymph, Angel of Light's a really good one because you also have to resurrect. You know, now we're getting to higher and higher manas, so here's some good options. And then let's just do normal heal. Maybe for some tanks, that could be good. Crawlus is a great one because it has the immunity. It's not fast, really. It's not going to dodge, but has so much health with the immunity that if you bring some heals, it can be really, really difficult to get through. Uriel's not bad. Anything else? Imperial Knight wouldn't be bad, actually, because you have so much void armor with the heal and the magic reflect. Like, I could see no archery. I could run Lily with this, for sure. Gelatinous Cube would certainly be interesting. Cursewind Deku and, like, melee only would be interesting. Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of options. Again, I know I did it with the Almo, and I know the Almo is expensive. But the main point of this video is to look at the strategy, right? Put a monster up front that is elusive, that is going to stay alive. Put low mana healers, and you can surprise your opponent in these 20 to 30 mana matches. You'll frustrate them. They won't be able to hit you, and if they do hit you, you'll keep healing, repairing, cleansing your super evasive frontline monster, and it will lead to more victories for you. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Really loving these gameplay videos. You're gonna get more and more of this from me. It's what I really like talking about. It's what I really like doing, so stay on the lookout. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I think we just hit 1,700, so getting closer and closer to 2,000. Stuff is really slowed down in the bear market, but we're not going down, which is good, so we can keep pushing forward. All right, I will talk to you guys soon, and see you around the game.